Alright, welcome back to what is going to be, I guess, the final episode, or I guess you could say the epilogue of our Elder Scrolls Arena adventure. Here we are, we're currently, I left the Imperial Province, we're currently on Somerset Isle since I'm a high elf, so I thought it's nice, let's go back to our homeland, and we're right outside of Cloud Rest. And so, like I said, this episode is just us going to be kind of exploring the wilderness, because we never really did that in our game, so we're just going to kind of go out here and kind of explore a little bit, and maybe try and see what it's like. Everything out here is randomly generated, completely 100% randomly generated, and I'm just going to, I guess, talk about my experience of playing the Elder Scrolls 1 Arena as a blind Let's Play. I'll talk about a little bit of the pros and a little about the cons. It's not going to be a long episode, it's going to probably be about 10-15 minutes, so let's go off in this direction. So the Elder Scrolls 1 Arena ended up being, if you're counting episode 0 as its own episode, it was 23 episodes in total. It was a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. Again, I thought it was going to be probably around 30 or 40 when I originally started playing the game, but very quickly as we progressed through, it seemed like this game was a lot more quick-paced, maybe at least for the type of character I chose, being a sorcerer. It seemed like I powered up extremely well near the end of the game, so I was able to progress a lot quicker. So yeah. So I guess let's talk about some things I really enjoyed about this game. Number one is the combat, and I know some people might not like the combat, but I think the combat, from at least the type of games that I'm used to playing and that I play and enjoy, this combat is unique. Normally I'm just used to left click and right click being to either block or swing the sword, so to have to hold down and then move your mouse in a direction. That is a nice change of pace to what I'm normally used to. I don't know if I would enjoy that for a game constantly, but you know, for it being in this game, I think it's unique, and you have to, at least in my book, count it as a positive. Let us look at our map and see if we're going in any particular direction or not. Okay, well then I guess we'll just continue going this way. Oh, hello. So yeah, again, the combat was really, again, being so unique to what I normally play. I had a really enjoyable time with it. You know, probably if the game was a little bit longer, the combat would have just become a little bit tedious, but it wasn't too bad. The second pro that I have of this game is the creativity when it comes to magic. The ability to craft your own spells in this game is really awesome, and the kind of overpowered nature that comes with your own created spells can really, maybe in a positive and negative way, can break the game. But I personally, as someone who does not play magic characters at all, I really enjoyed it, and it was, you know, I'm really glad that I kind of, for this series, decided to step outside of my comfort zone of playing a stealth assassin, and instead decided to go with a pure magic character. And then the other pro in here, but it's eventually also going to be a con, is that this is the only game in the series, except for technically Elder Scrolls Online, that has every single one of the provinces in the game. And that is really awesome, because every game from here on out, again, except for ESO, is going to be, you know, what is that? Is that just a rock? That looks like a rock, okay. Every other game in here, in this series, except for ESO, is going to be within a certain area. You know, Daggerfall is going to be set in, you know, this high rock-ish area right in here. And then, Morrowind is set in Morrowind. Oblivion, I believe, is set in the Imperial Province, but don't quote me on that. Again, I'm going into a lot of these completely blind, and Skyrim is, of course, set in Skyrim. So, but it's going to be really interesting, you know, again, so it's really interesting that this game is so open. Again, I guess it comes down to the fact that this was the idea from the beginning of Elder Scrolls Arena to kind of be a team-based beat-em-up, go around to all the provinces and defeat the champions, and then later on in the game development cycle, they decided, oh, we're just going to do, you know, up an RPG dungeon crawler kind of style. But again, to have all the provinces in the game, I think that is kind of cool. So that is really the kind of pros I have of this game that really to me stand out as either unique or something I've not experienced, or things that I enjoyed. And now some about the things I did not enjoy, and I'm sure you've heard these points before, because I complained about them to no end throughout the series. And the first one is the mobs seemingly randomly spawning like right on top of you. I do not know. I will say this. I do not know if that is because this is a game from '94 and I have hardware from 2020, and that affects how like perception is for like draw distance and view distance. And it may be that if I was playing this with 1994 hardware, it wouldn't seem like they're just popping in out of nowhere. I will give you that. I don't know, but for me, with the hardware I do have, that was a problem consistently throughout this series. As you would see, like, again, I would say okay to the pure, let's avoid the corn maze. I don't want to do a corn maze as we're exploring the wilderness. I was really hoping to find, like, because you can kind of stumble into, like, randomly generated, like, dungeons out here. I was hoping to find one, but it seems like we're not really stumbling into that, so oh well. But we ran into that problem multiple times throughout the Let's Play, where, mobs would just seemingly spawn right on top of us. And again, I give a pass to, like, maybe the magic users, because maybe they're using something like Dimension Door and dimensioning right next to you, or they're teleporting right next to you, but the mobs, that doesn't make sense. And so that is a real big complaint. Second, as I fall into the river, as I'm trying to read off the points that I have, the second point is the trouble with climbing. Climbing in this game is really wonky, to say the best. It's if you're trying to climb up and it's like a very, like, if you're trying to climb up onto the land, that's perfectly fine. But if you're trying to climb up and there's like a little tiny like sliver you can only climb up on, you're inevitably going to fall over onto the other side and fall off again, because it's so hard to control. At least for me it was. And again, you saw multiple times throughout this Let's Play how I would have trouble trying to get up from after I fell down into the river or the lake or whatever it be. Or if just out of a pit, I would, inevitably climb up and then fall onto the other side of the pit, and it would just kind of become kind of really bad. The third point is kind of a two-part point. Number one is, I guess, like sub-point A is that you cannot fully zoom out of the map to see the entirety of a dungeon, which I didn't like. You had to use, north, south, east, and west to kind of traverse around the dungeon you're exploring. I really would have liked the ability to fully zoom out on the map to fully get everything put in, but it wasn't too bad. But again, it just, I guess, ease of playing. The second point is involving the map is that sometimes the map actually glitched as you were trying to use north, south, east, and west, and the map would go blank, and it wouldn't like ever move back to where it's a good spot to where you've already explored. So it just kind of glitched into like a pure blank map, and you'd have to exit the map and re-enter the map to get it to work again. And again, that's another small complaint. The other, I have three more complaints about this game. The first one is, which order do we want to do this in? Let's go with this one. The Elder Scrolls, this is called the Elder Scrolls 1 Arena. And again, the backstory, the backstory of the development of this game, how it wasn't intended to be what it is, but it now is. But the Elder Scrolls themselves, they're just kind of, to me, thrown in. Like, every time it was like, oh, we need, in order for you to find the location that houses one of the 8 pieces of the Staff of Chaos, we need you to go to this location, and this is going to help us something with the Elder Scrolls. So the Elder Scrolls were just pretty much an afterthought, at least that's the way I felt. So again, to me, when your name is the Elder Scrolls Arena, it'd been nice to have a better integration of the Elder Scrolls themselves into the game, rather than it feel like it's a last-minute quick addendum that's just kind of painted on, that has no impact whatsoever besides just some text. The second to last point that I have for as far as cons is that the text, and I said this multiple times, everybody here who watched the Let's Play knows what this point is going to be, the text moves way too damn quick in this game. It is impossible to read, and then if you for some reason you cannot get out, if you cannot read the entirety of that text in like literally 2 seconds, then sometimes you're completely out of luck, because guess what? There's a pretty decent chance that text is never going to pop up again. Doesn't matter if you try and go back to where the trigger point was, it just sometimes says, no, you had one opportunity to read, a paragraph in, 2 seconds, so sucks to be you. That's a huge, that is probably my number one complaint, is just how too fast that text moves. It's just too quick. And I can read pretty darn quick, but when it's like instantaneously, I think I just rubber banded. That was weird. I'll have to go back and check in the footage. It seemed like I just teleported back a few feet, or just teleported in general. Anyway, so that's the biggest complaint with this game, is just the text moving too quickly. I did teleport back, because this is the bridge I went over. No, not that button, you stupid. Did I reach like too far of a point where I can't go out anymore? Nah, probably not, right? Well, then I guess let's go this direction. And then the final con I have in this game, and then I will rate it on a scale of play or skip, because you cannot buy this game because it's free. Because normally I would do a buy, wait, or skip scale, but because you can't buy it, the only thing you have the option is for me to offer is a play or skip scale. So the final con I have with this game is, I think, a very valid point, which is that, and this is the analogy that I made multiple times throughout the Let's Play, is if you look at this map is very wide open. It is so wide open, which is a great thing, but it also, like I said earlier, it was also going to be a con, and this is where the con comes in. This is a very large pool, but when you look at it really truly of what is put in intentionally and not just randomly generated, it has the depth of about an inch. It's, besides the artifact quests, which I forget how many artifacts there are in the game, I apologize, we ended up doing 2. Second, okay, really quick addendum to the con list is apparently when you're out in the wilderness, you're just gonna apparently randomly teleport into a room where you can't get out. Okay, fine, let's go to the Imperial Province and go to the Imperial City and travel there and just go explore the wilderness out that direction. That was, okay, that was weird, man. Oh, and it's night. Okay, well, let's use light. And then let's use a little bit of shield just in case, because we're going to go out there at night. I don't want to have a problem. And restore up on potions. And there we go. Let us go out. But, again, it's a very large pool, but it has a very shallow depth. Again, don't know how many quests for artifact quests there are. We did end up doing the Staff of Magnus, and we ended up doing the Ogma Infinium, but I know there are a lot more. There's like Auriel's Bow or Auriel's Shield. There's the Ring of the Khajiit and stuff like that. So there's a lot more stuff to do, but all of that, again, is wonderful lore text at the beginning, but it's all put in randomly procedurated dungeons. So really, after you get the text, it really doesn't do a whole lot otherwise. And then it's the escaping the Imperial sewers, and then technically 16 dungeons to get all 8 pieces, but you need to go and basically find a map or do some kind of favor in order to get the location of where those staff pieces are located. And then finally, the battle with Jagar Tharn in the Imperial Palace. So it's 16 plus, the additional, it's the sewer and the Imperial Palace. So it's 18 handcrafted kind of missions in this large of a world. And again, it's 94. I'm giving it a little bit of a break, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more. And again, I'm not faulting it too much because the idea and the entire premise of the game challenged somewhat through development cycle. But it would have been nice to see a little bit more development as far as depth with just how wide open this is. Again, that's something I'm really hoping that's going to be coming in when I play Daggerfall, and Daggerfall Unity is more depth. We didn't get a mention of the Dark Brotherhood. We didn't, I believe, get a mention of the Fighters Guild. I think we might have maybe got a mention of a Thieves Guild, but that's really about it. And we got a mention of the Blades. But besides that, there's really... Who's shooting at me? I don't know. Oh well. We're going to avoid the corn maze. But again, so those are the cons I have of this game. And so let me go on ahead and rate it on a scale of should you play it or should you skip it. If you are an Elder Scrolls fan, I do think you should play this game. You do have to get adjusted to the visuals if you're not used to these types of older games, which I'm not myself. Oh, hello. Goodbye. Which was, to me, one of the earliest things I had to get used to because I'm not used to the games that look like this. But if you're an Elder Scrolls fan, I think you need to try and play Arena, at least give it a try. I'll say this, to me, the beginning part was the hardest, but again, to me, the beginning part was the hardest because I didn't have magic, and magic is very overpowered in this game. However, to the average person, the person that's just looking to play games and maybe not want to be like a super in-depth Elder Scrolls fan, my personal recommendation for this would be to skip this game. I do not feel that the positives of this game outweigh the negatives of this game. I do not feel that the positives of completing this game outweigh the time cost it would cost you to put into this game, which is going to be roughly, I believe, let me pull up Steam myself so I know, so I can give you an accurate number. As of right now, I have 27 hours in this game. However, there was some recording issues, so really it's about probably 24 to 25-ish hours in this game. I do not think that what this game offers is inherently worth a 24-hour time sink where it could be put into other things. From what I've heard, Daggerfall is a much better game to put your time in. I don't know, we've never played it. That's what's coming up next, so it's going to be really interesting to see as we progress through this Elder Scrolls series how the games develop. So as far as for me, a scale of play or skip for the die-hard Elder Scrolls fans, this is a play. I think it has to be a play. You have to play from where the game began to see its progress and its roots. But for the average person, the non-Elder Scrolls fan, or just the average gamer, I do not feel that this game has enough to warrant a play. This should be a skip, and if you really want to see this game, either watch my Let's Play or there's other Let's Plays out there. Granted, there's some Let's Plays that are much more extended than mine, but hey, you know what? You do whatever you want to do. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. We never really got to do a whole lot out here in the wilderness, unfortunately. There's, again, one of the things I was wanting to do is there are, as you kind of seen, there's like these buildings that pop up and all this, but there's also supposed to be like randomly generated dungeons that can kind of pop up and you can kind of go in and explore. I was really hoping to find one, but we just never did. So, oh well. So yeah. So I guess let's briefly talk about, because if you for some reason skipped the final part of the last episode, let's talk briefly about the schedule of what's to come. If you're watching this as the video comes out, then literally in 1 hour from now, the first episode of Yakuza 0 is going to be going out. And then 1 week from today, from when this video goes out, we are going to have our first episode of Daggerfall in Daggerfall Unity. So yeah, we're moving on to Daggerfall. I am extremely excited. I'm not 100% certain on what character I'm going to be playing, but you know, it's probably might be more of a combination mage and warrior, kind of like what we did with this character, because I don't typically play magic, but this game kind of you know, maybe changed my tune on a, you know, the magic in the Elder Scrolls game, so it's gonna be interesting to see. So anyway, I've been talking too long for a review, so I just want to say thank you guys so much for either watching this review or watching the entire series. It really means a lot. If you haven't, hit the subscribe button. It's going to help me. It's going to help you stay informed of when videos come to this channel. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. It'll help me out so much. Follow me on Twitter at @DSSHGaming. That's another great way to know when stuff gets uploaded. I also maybe retweet occasionally some general gaming news, so I won't inundate your you know, timeline with nonsense, because I'm not a big social media guy. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here for this series. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you either later today for Yakuza 0, or I will see you next time for The Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall. Goodbye.